Have you or your students ever studied for hours but forget everything the next day? Have you noticed yourself or your learners relying on highlighting instead of actually understanding? And have you wondered how to do it better and at the same time help them become more effective, independent learners? In this video, we're exploring the cognitive science behind learning how to learn and how you can bring these strategies into your English language classroom in simple, practical ways. This video is also part of the completion component in Dr. Barbara Oakley's course, Learning How to Learn, which, no surprise, I'm passionate about. I'll cover the concepts covered on the course and also share my own 32 years of experience in the language classroom. Right, let me start by sharing my learning outcomes for this video. By the end, you will be able to explain key learning strategies, apply techniques like recall and space practice in lessons, and design activities that support deeper learning. Research shows guiding questions improve learning focus. So stop the video and consider these questions. What makes learning stick? Why do we forget? How can we teach smarter study habits? Right, let's start with a common classroom reality we see every day. We reread texts, highlight vocabulary, and feel productive, but then perform poorly in assessments or fail to recall information when we need it. This is what cognitive science calls the illusion of competence. Learners feel like they know something simply because it looks familiar. In language teaching, we see this all the time. I've seen it myself. A student rereads a grammar explanation multiple times but still can't use structure in speaking. Or they recognize vocabulary in a reading text but can't produce it in conversation. Another issue is cognitive overload. When too much information is presented at once, learners struggle to process and retain it. As highlighted in digital learning principles, breaking content into manageable chunks helps learners process information more effectively. So the challenge is clear. We are often using ineffective strategies and we need to adopt better ones. Let's look at 4 powerful research-backed strategies. First, chunking. This means organizing information into meaningful units. For example, instead of teaching isolated vocabulary, group words by theme or function while involving as many senses as possible to help a richer encoding of the new information. This aligns with cognitivist principles where learners process and organize information in structured ways. I like using lots of visuals, audio, and gestures to appeal to muscle memory and at the same time have fun during recall, which is next. Second, active recall. Instead of rereading, students should retrieve information from memory. For example, after reading a text, ask them to close the book and summarize the main ideas. Make a list of everything they can remember or anything similar. This strengthens memory pathways much more effectively than passive review. Third, distributed practice, also known as spaced learning. This is my favorite. Rather than cramming vocabulary in one lesson, revisit it over several lessons. This repeated exposure over time improves long-term retention. All my lessons start with a 10-item quick quiz on items or information from the previous lesson. Once the students get used to it, you can't miss it, or they'll ask, "No quiz today?" Finally, focus and diffuse thinking. When students are stuck, they often push harder, but stepping away can actually help. Encouraging short breaks allows the brain to process information in the background. Something I do when I'm studying at home and I hit that wall is to go and do some stretching for 5 minutes. It really works a treat for me. These strategies are simple but powerful, and they shift from passive to active learning. So now you can bring this into your own learning and teaching. But how? Well, start with recall routines. At the beginning of each lesson, ask students to write down what they remember from the previous class, like the 10-item quiz I mentioned. No notes, just memory. This builds retrieval habits. Next, design chunked input. Instead of presenting all grammar rules at once, break them into smaller parts, ensure there's a clear context, bring in a story that embeds the point you want to make, use visuals, etc., and revisit them across lessons. This avoids overload and supports deeper understanding. You can also build in space review. For example, recycle vocabulary from last week during speaking tasks or quick quizzes at the beginning of each lesson. This doesn't take long, but makes a huge difference. And don't forget structure breaks. If students are struggling with a task, give them a short pause or switch activity. Even a quick paired discussion can activate that diffuse mode. Finally, try the Pomodoro technique for longer tasks. So 25 minutes of focused work followed by a short break. This helps students manage attention and reduces procrastination. These small changes can transform how we and our students learn and how confident they feel. What are the key takeaways from this video? First, passive strategies like rereading don't lead to deep learning. Second, active strategies and techniques like recall and space practice are far more effective. And third, small classroom changes can have a big impact on ourselves and our students' outcomes. As the next step, try introducing just one of these strategies in your next lesson, perhaps a simple recall activity or space review task. Why not those 10-item quizzes? If you found this useful, don't forget to check it out, like, and subscribe to the channel for more practical teaching strategies. And remember, learning is fun and you don't have to do it alone. So let's learn together with Robert.